So we camera can see whoever. Watch yourself on the trip.
Yes, ma'am. We're the senior audience, I take it?
Yeah.
Same here. I saw you on a video. Larger person. Box in the-
Where do we sit? Okay, so we're all good.
4 minutes and everything. Chat's working.
Okay.
I like where the cameras are. I have it printed out. Just one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Same here. I had a conflict last year. Get into so much from a year ago. Whatever. Board asked me to get back.
Testing, testing. Hi. How are you?
You're not going to that. You don't qualify. Oh, my God. Put up chairs. Just take a look around and see if we have enough chairs. Thank you, John.
When we're having work.
Only because I wouldn't want to get or I just leave town.
Not enough money to leave town, girl.
No. Don't go up on me, that's why I'm asking somebody. It'll be good in a minute.
In accordance with Article 10, Section 3 of the Brookridge bylaws, the members present at an annual or special meeting shall constitute a quorum regardless of the number present. BCPO bylaws state the president shall preside over all meetings. Catherine Lane, as president, shall chair the meeting. Catherine, please take the podium.
Good evening, all. Oh, it works really well. Okay. I call to order 2026 annual membership meeting, and I recognize our attorney, Stephen Metzer, over there. Very good. We will have a moment of silence. Could everyone silence their phones, take their hats off? We'll do the moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Vice President On,
Vice
On-
President Jane Randall is recognized to read proof of notice.
on March 13th, 2026, Mail Processing Associates of Lakeland, Florida, mailed the 2026 annual members meeting notice, which included resumes of director candidates, ballots for election of directors, and a calendar of scheduled board meetings for the next 12 months to each unit owner at the address on file with Hernando County Property Appraiser's Office, according to the requirements of Florida statutes, chapter 720.303, and the bylaws of the Brookridge Community Property Owners Association.
Mrs. President. point
Jane
of-
Randall.
Approval of minutes of the three,
Without complete compliant with the bylaws. Online voting is unauthorized and is not properly noticed. Ballots were not delivered within required timeframes. Candidates' deadlines were inconsistent. The bylaws state that appointed directors may serve only until the next election and must be placed on the ballot. However, those seats are not on the ballot. I request a ruling and that this be entered into the record. I request to be also part of the next monthly minutes.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
approval of minutes of the 3/19/25 annual meeting was approved at the 3/21/25 Board of Directors emergency meeting. There's no correspondence, and we'll move to the annual reports of officers.
Okay, so, the annual report was full. I gotta tell you, I started out with 47 things that we have done and completed and not completed. Some of them that are still in the process of being worked on or bids are being gotten for. So I tried to zone this down a little bit so I wouldn't have you guys here till 12 o'clock tonight. So keep that in mind. Okay. So first of all, I want to thank Jane Randall, my first vice president, who has stepped in and been there for me in a moment's notice. She took over while I was away the past few weeks. I was with a very dear friend, someone who was truly like a mother to me. And sadly, I lost her over this past weekend. I deeply appreciate her support and her understanding during that time frame. She's been a rock this past year for me. Gladys, I want to speak to Gladys for sharing her knowledge and experience of being on an HOA board. She's over here somewhere. Gladys, can you raise your hand? Thank you. Her work within the county and assisting us with projects that we're doing, as well as stepping in to assist with some of the secretarial duties. I want to thank Roberta for organizing and supplying all the supplies, which was a job all by itself, and helping out when she could. I'd like to thank Jerry, wherever he is, he's over there, for working with Jamie to get BCPO's finances updated with real numbers, as well as being instrumental with the information for the ongoing investigation. And Richard, I don't know where he went to, back there. I'd like to thank Richard for attending in person the last few meetings. I know he's had a rough year, and putting his input in to help out where he could. I'd like everybody to, I know you've all welcomed George, but George, the new GM, has been here for the past 2 weeks, checking in daily with me, as I haven't been in the office much, giving me updates, letting me know what community needs are, and discussing options. We've also discussed some plans for the upcoming future of Brookridge and some plans that are in place. So moving forward, I would like to highlight the progress that we've made over the past year. Although I had a list of, like I said, 47 projects, I decided to dwindle that down. We have handled renovations at the clubhouse and completed those. We've addressed the issues at the pool and made sure that we hired a company that not only maintains the pool, the chemicals, all repairs, but gives us valued service Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and they're here anytime we call them if there's a problem, so they're wonderful. Sapphire Pools is in place. While the sauna work took longer than we expected, I am pleased to say that the work has officially begun today. So everybody waiting for the sauna to be done, the men's sauna was worked on today. We worked on kitchen issues to improve functionality and the service for our residents. The front pedestrian gate project has been scheduled, and their start date is May 1st. So that will actually be done now. We have received bids for the road work and will be announcing a start date very soon. Our computer systems are currently being evaluated and updated where needed to ensure efficiency. We had several electrical issues out of the tennis and pickleball courts, and those have been addressed, along with improving the water system. They had a water filtration system out there that had water for the tennis players, and that was broken. We are also reassessing the water piping in the grassy area in front of the clubhouse, which we had to chain off for several broken water pipes. We're waiting for the schematics on that to figure out where the pipes are so we can give people more parking here at the clubhouse. We are currently collecting bids for resurfacing and repairing the tennis court and pickleball courts. We're looking into having someone stay in an agreement with us, so if something comes up, we can take care of it then. We have a wonderful clubhouse manager that has made sure that the news and views is finally wonderful. She's managed the clubhouse more efficiently. It's more cost effective, as well as the ads coming in. So Kelly has truly been an asset to our community, and we thank her. Additionally, I just talked about the new general manager who's been in place for just the past 2 weeks. He's already demonstrated professionalism, knowledge, and the ability to handle situations effectively. While George is in a new position, it is clear that his overall experience, along with his experience here at Brookridge, will be a valuable asset to this community. This board is made up of individuals who each bring their own unique qualities, specialties, and education. We have come together, we have made mistakes, and we have learned from them. We will continue to learn as we move forward as a community and as board members. I personally feel that I have given my all and done my very best. I understand that I may have disappointed some, but I have grown through the process and am grateful for the experience and the opportunity. I want to thank my fellow board members again for standing together as a united team, and also thank all of our employees who work very hard every day to help our community be a happy and peaceful place to be. Thank you all for your continued support and commitment to our community. And last but not least, I want to thank the Brookridge community, all of you. I'm sure for those of you that have been on this board previously or any other board, that you understand when I say it is a shock and an awakening to come into a position as a board member. For any of our new members, I would like to thank you for stepping up and appreciate your commitment to our community. We look forward to next year working together as a community, concentrating on solutions, and moving forward in a positive direction. Thank you. And now the treasurer's report. I've asked Jamie to come up and give that to you. I'm sorry. Oh, stay.
Hi everyone, I'm Jamie. I'm the owner of Gulf Coast Accounting. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Hi everyone, I'm Jamie with Gulf Coast Accounting. You guys, I only made 50 copies. I apologize if not everyone got one. If you didn't, you can request one at the office. I'd be happy to print one out for you. But we'll go over the first page, which everybody should be used to seeing by now. This is going to be our reserve study or not reserve study, I apologize. The reserve printout that we do every month. So in reserve accounts, we have $3,830,888.93 in February, my bad. And then in March, we have $3,834,651.49. In the operating accounts, I didn't have the total, but you can see down at the bottom for the operating accounts.
You'll have a paper.
It's in the back. This is the reserve breakdown.
The number?
I'll give them to you.
You can have mine. Okay. Also in the back, there were 50 copies made. Like I said, if you would like an extra copy, I can print you one out at the office. The profit and loss statement is attached. With that statement, I just want to make sure everybody's clear. This is a preliminary profit and loss statement. We are still currently making edits to those profit and loss in the different charts of account to make sure that they are accurate for the tax return for 2025. And with that, also the budget and the accrual report, or the budget versus actual report, that will change as we make changes to the profit and loss statement. The reserve study, or the reserve activity sheet is here. If anybody would like my copy, you're welcome to it. And then the assessments that we have been doing. So as of December 31st, 2025, we had 551 outstanding owners that owed assessments, which adds up to $439,552.91. As of April 2022, today's date, we have 434 outstanding accounts, and that number is down $120,000, which is $359,412.67.
I have a question, is that HOAs and fines? or just
HOA only.
HOA only? How could that be?
So people that haven't been paying their HOA fees, we are sending them letters every time they are late. And we are also, once they get to that threshold of $1,000 in back assessments, they get put a lien notice, which is 45 days out from the date of notice. And then from that, then they have a 45-day window to pay that lien. If they don't, or pay those back assessments. If they don't, then their house gets put on lien. All right, next is number 4. It's our major expenses and insurance. So that's been something we've been talking about. So the insurance was adjusted. We went from auto owners insurance to slide and IPFS, and those changes have happened. And then our financial controls, so that's something that we're working with the GM and the board of directors to make sure we have standards and SOPs in place, which are standard operating procedures, to make sure that going forward, anything that happens in the finance department is looked at by me or somebody else, and then we know that that's correct, and we do the reconciliations going forward. All right, the second page and on is going to be your profit and loss statement, which I was told is going to be on the website, hopefully by tomorrow or Friday. And then the next statement is going to be the budget. So it's the budget for 2025, and then the amount over, and then the percentage over. Now, like I said, these numbers will be adjusted as things are changed in the 2025 profit and loss statement. So as changes are made, this will change as well, because it all flows together. And then the back page is from the balance sheet. So on the balance sheet, this was for 2025. These are the numbers from the balance sheet that's in the reserve accounts. So that's why I give you guys this single sheet every single month. That way you guys can monitor us to make sure that we're doing our part and making sure that the numbers are correct. And that's it for the treasurer's report.
Reminds the balance sheet, bottom line, as one of 12/31 or 25, and Brookridge balance sheet as of 12/25. The numbers don't match.
Okay, so I will look into that for you, because when I did the December, that was 2 months ago, so it could have changed. So I will look into that. I will update this sheet on the next board meeting, and we will get the right numbers on the website by tomorrow or Friday.
December's number changes.
Well, it could, if it's something like it just from interest that wasn't added at the time that I put this in.
Over $100,000.
I'm going to look at it.
Okay. Never mind.
Okay, unfinished business, there is none. New business, none. Election results. Vivian Blair will provide the results envelope to Catherine Lane and swear in the new directors.
Vivian Blair, Unit 4, Brookridge Election Committee Chairperson. We added up all the votes that came in, and here's the results. Total votes were 1,018. Drop-off mail votes, what you dropped off at the office and through the mail, 731. Online votes, because we also had online, 287 votes. There was voided votes were 21. That is not added in the total. Okay, now for the election of the board members. Here's the results. They're listed the same that was on the ballot that you got. Gino Verdi, he received 478 votes, which gives him 3 years of service. Jane Randall, she got 433 votes, which gave her 2 years of service. Roberta Broder had 422 votes, which gave her 2 years of service. Gladys Moore received 615 votes, which gives her 3 years of service. So these persons are going to be on your board along with the people that are there. Now, as far as the deed restriction modifications, the number 1 was Article 3, Section 17, community resale events. That passed as a yes. Number 2, Article 3, Section 30, limitation on ownership. That was passed as a yes. Number 3, Article 3, Section 14, leasing of homes. That did not pass. That was a no. Number 4, Article 3, Section 11F and 11G, signs on Brookridge Central. That did not pass. That was also a no. Number 5, Article 3, Section 20, passed. That did not pass. That was a no. Article 6, number 6, Article 4, Section 1, home maintenance. That did not pass. That was a no. That was the results of all your voting. Thank you, everybody, for voting. Thank you, the election committee. They were all wonderful. Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
What numbers? The total votes were 1,018. Drop off and mail-in votes were 731. And the online votes were 287. Those two equal 1,018.
949. What? 949.
I don't understand what you're questioning. 731, 287. I said 1,018. 1018. Okay? How did you make sure no one double voted? We checked them. Yes, we do. We check every vote that comes in, whether it's through the mail or dropped off. We mark it off in a master list. And then when you have the online, we check it against the master list.
How many people voted twice? Nobody. We know. No. Look, we have several people that told us.
I don't know what you're questioning.
You don't know what the question is. Okay. So. Okay, it looks like we're gonna swear in, where's all of the members? The new board members, if you guys can all come up front here. Probably over here, that way they can be on the camera better. Okay. Richard? Oh, no, not you, Richard, just the four. So it's Jane, Gino's coming right there, and Roberta's not here this evening. Right over here so the camera will be on. Here we go. She's not here this evening. Dog problems, yeah.
We'll put you between us, okay? Can you handle it?
Okay, will you all raise your right hand? Do you solemnly promise and swear that you will administer the office to which you have been appointed to the best of your ability and judgment in conformity with the governing documents of Brookridge Community Property Owners Incorporated? That you will in all acts be governed by the principles of honesty, justice, and fair play, and in every manner possible endeavor to promote and safeguard the best interests of the citizens of Brookridge and the welfare of its membership. Do you swear?
I do.
Jane?
I do.
Okay. Well, I guess you all said I do, so I guess we're done. By virtue of the authority conferred upon me, I do hereby proclaim you as duly appointed Board of Directors for Brookridge Community Property Owners and officially installed into the office. Welcome to Okay. Now I guess we're open for member comments. We don't do that until after.
Gail Metcalf, Unit 6. I want to congratulate the new people that have just come on the board, some that have been here for a while. I have a list of all of our governing documents. Not very many of them is there. I am going to challenge every one of you and the ones that are presently on the board to read through your governing documents once a month. You're not going to remember all of them, but everything that comes to the board, every single thing you do, it's in here. If you just go through them every so often, you're going to say, oh yeah, I know that. I'm just saying. It'll make life a lot smoother for the whole board and for Brookridge community as a whole. So I just want to congratulate you, and I just want to say that. And just one more thing. When Vivian was giving the count, and somebody, I couldn't see who it was, but somebody said in the audience that there are people that voted twice, and I know they voted twice. She forgot to remind you that there was 21 voided votes. So I'm sure that those were the 21 votes that people voted twice.
Any other member comments? Well, I guess we can move forward. Okay. Okay, so I am going to, according to what I'm being told, this is where I, at 7:32, okay. You second? Thank you. Okay, so I guess we're all those in favor of adjourning the meeting at 7:32? Perfect. Aye. The meeting is adjourned. We will take probably 10, 15 minutes, reorganize, and then we'll move on to the organizational meeting. Okay? So everybody stretch your legs for a half a minute and be right back.
How you doing?
If anybody wants one of the financials, I have like 4 or 5 up here. Hello? Anybody that wants a financial, well, I've got you. I've got you.
Yeah, sure.
You're welcome. You already got this one? Let me see if I've got an extra one. No, I only have mine. Let's go to the office.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, well,
I'm not either. Yeah, I'm trying to.
Hi. Hello, everybody. Can I get everybody to reconvene? That way we can move forward with the organizational meeting. Thank you.
I wasn't gonna sing Didn't say the word, but she had said.
Gino, are you ready? Richard, you ready? Okay, I guess I have to call the organizational meeting to order. So it is now 7:46 on Wednesday. Oh God, the 22nd of May, April, excuse me.
Let's not rush it.
Hold it, let's move this along. I call to order at 7:46, April 22nd, 2026, and I'm all done.
Good evening, board members. Okay, we are doing the organizational meeting. We're going to take it from the top if you'd like. In other words, being the president first, then it'll be vice president, secretary, treasurer. Or if somebody has a slate, I really don't care. It can be however you want to do it. It'll be a nominate. So I nominate blank, whoever it is, to be president. And if you want to go vice president, secretary, treasurer all at once, or I don't, again, whatever order you want to go, that way. You want to do one at a time. You don't really have to, but if you're taking notes over there, that's okay. Person need not be present to win. So we'll start with the president and see what happens. We'll open the floor to nominations. There'll be, nominate so-and-so and see if he or she accepts if they're here. If not, too bad. I mean, seriously, if they're not here, they can still be elected in absentia. If they decline, we'll have a vacancy. So, and it happens, people cannot always be here. So they're not excluded from being an officer is really the bottom line to that, to be somewhat serious about that. So we'll nominate for president, and there need not be another nomination. If there is, then we can have two. We can break it up as to who we're going to vote for the office of president, and we'll take it from there. In front of me, I have only 6 people. Hopefully we don't get a 3-3 tie. If we do, we will have another round of voting. If it looks like we're not going to get anywhere, we'll defer it to your next board meeting. So we'll start with president, open nominations at this point.
I would like to nominate Catherine Lane as president.
We have one nomination for Catherine Lane for president. Are there any other nominations for president?
Okay, I'll nominate Roberta Boudère for president.
We have another nomination, Roberta, for president. Any other nominations for president? Okay, we'll take them in the order they were nominated. In favor of Catherine, raise your hand. You can do secret ballot, by the way. Okay, it's 3. And Roberta. All in favor? Raise your hand. We have an abstention at the end there, Jerry? 2 abstentions, okay. Prefer abstentions to be only if you have a conflict, not if you don't want to. Another way of doing this, if it would be helpful for the gentleman in the end, if you'd like to use confidential ballots, we can do that. This is the only time board can vote by secret ballot, if that would help.
Okay, I'll vote no.
So no is not an option here. So really only if you have a conflict. You got elected.
Call the vote again.
Do you want to re-vote it? Is that what we're asking for, gentlemen, in the end? Both of you? Okay, for Catherine. 1, 2, 3, 4. That takes care of that. And assume you want to move. Okay, so we'll show that in the minutes as well. All right, we have our president elected. Vice president.
I would like to nominate Jane Randall for first vice.
We have a first vice with Jane. Any other nominations for first vice? Somebody want to move to close the nominations, just to be sure? Because I see some guys down there thinking. Is there a motion to close the nominations for first vice president?
Yes. I make the motion. Close.
So we have a first vice president and second vice president nominations. Don't all speak at once. Any volunteers? You can nominate yourself. There we go.
You voted, okay.
All right. Any other nominations for second vice president? Is there a motion to close those nominations?
I make a motion to close them.
Anybody opposed? Everybody in favor? Good. Moving on to secretary. Nominations for secretary.
I nominate Gladys Moore as secretary.
Any other nominations for secretary? I think she's the only one with a pen in her hand. Huh? Catherine does have a pen. You can't be secretary too.
No.
All right. So we have a secretary. Nominations move to close.
I move to close.
Anybody opposed? Treasurer. Nominations for treasurer.
I nominate Jerry.
Nomination was for Jerry for treasurer. Any other nominations for treasurer? Is there a motion to close the nominations for treasurer?
I'll make a motion to close them.
Anybody opposed? That's your officers right now. Keep in mind, officers serve at the pleasure of the board. You can always reshuffle the deck. So everybody's accountable all the time. Any other business? It's your meeting at this point. Catherine?
I don't have any other business. Not for today.
When's your next board meeting?
It is May 20th, I believe is the date.
Let's make sure so everybody's aware when the next board meeting will be.
Okay, so the next board meeting is May 20th,
May 20th.
2026. I got it right.
Anything else to come before the board? They remain directors. Yes?
I do have a question for you.
Okay. Well, it depends what it is. You can ask questions I may not be able to answer.
When somebody on the board quits.
The question, okay. Yes,
And a new person is appointed.
yes. I'll repeat the question.
Sorry.
Yeah.
How long do they get to serve?
The
Until
question,
next election?
okay, the question was if somebody on the board quits, we now appoint somebody to fill the vacancy. How long do they serve? Really depends on who quit and what their term was. And did they finish that term? Well, there's a maneuver that can be done. Yeah, because like tonight, you saw that you had people who were elected to 2-year terms and people for 3-year terms. If I was elected tonight to a 2-year term, and I'll just pick on Richard because he's here, and say Richard was serving a 3-year term and he quit, I'm going to take his term because I'd like to have his term of 3 years and I'd take it out of my 2, and you move around. So it can be done. I resign, you board appoints me to that one. I'm now a new board member. I have to do the new board member education under the statute if it applies, and that's a whole nother issue. But the question is really, it depends. So there isn't a simple answer to it. And there are some maneuvers that can be done, and many board members do that. There are board members who do that in reverse, by the way. I got elected tonight to a 3-year term. I don't like that. I don't want to be stapled down to it. I'd rather take Richard's remaining 1-year term because, okay, and he and I could swap, and he could get appointed to my 3-year term. He said, no, thank you. Okay, see? That's just it. I mean, you can do that, and we just have to. Brookridge has done a very bad job of tracking board terms.
Yes.
So those of you who were past secretaries for the board, shame on you. We're living your nightmare. But yeah, we've learned our lesson and we are correcting it. As you were doing some of that tonight, you've done it in the past. So terms has been a weak point for Brookridge. You have a lot of strong points. That wasn't one of them. Good lady in the back. Yes, ma'am. Hi.
All of us back here that can't hear too well. Would you
Madam Speaker, just listing down everyone that was nominated?
Catherine has the names written down in front of her. Would you call out the names of your board?
Yes, Catherine Lane, President. We have First Vice Jane Randall. We have Gino Verdi as Second Vice. We have Jerry Foster as the Treasurer, Gladys Moore as the Secretary, and Richard and Roberta are both Directors.
Gentlemen, sir? No. This is something that we've been working on at Brookridge. If you look at your documents, look at your articles, your bylaws, your declaration, the word sworn in isn't there. Okay? It's not in the state statute, but it is a custom here at Brookridge, and every meeting that I've been to, it's always been done. There's nothing wrong with doing it, and if the board says, we would like to do that, sometimes you could look at it, and it's a nice oath that you do have, because let's face it, you have problems between the owners and the board sometimes, and having them openly, commit to being on the same page could be useful. So I'm not telling you don't do it, but the question you asked was, do they have to be? And the answer is no, they don't have to be. If they want to do that, there's nothing illegal about doing it. Great question.
Anybody else?
Sir, hey.
Where do 720s come in at? Do they have president over everything?
The question was, where does 720 come in and does it have precedence over everything? Where it comes in, I'm going to make your eyes glaze over. It comes in on the procedural aspects, but not the substantive aspects. I know, it's attorney talk. And so the answer is no, it does not take precedence over everything. And even the procedural stuff is really questionable. There are a couple of judges who ruled that it does not, but it hasn't gone anywhere. But as to the substantive portions of 720, it definitely does not. Procedural probably do. Next time Brookridge does a rewrite, and Catherine had a group trying to do some document work this year, and it kind of got a little off track, I would go through 720 and pick and choose. Don't ask what's procedural or substantive. It's literally the black and white side of things, but instead look at what would be good for Brookridge. What should we have? For example, there's a requirement that you have hurricane specifications. That's probably a good thing. It also allows for metal roofs. I don't know if that's a good thing or not for your homes to have a metal roof. Probably not, but that's up to you at Brookridge to decide. I'm just not familiar with roofing. But you can go through that statute and pick and choose. Another one, and I don't recall what Brookridge's documents say about delinquencies. There are some things that you could put in there from the statute regarding delinquencies. That is not procedural, it is substantive. So it would need to be put into your documents for you to take advantage of what's in 720.
Document that in bylaws?
It depends what it is. If it was the delinquencies, that would be, the question was governing documents as in bylaws. A lot of people call the declaration your bylaws. It's kind of a generic term, our bylaws. But declaration is something that runs with the land and it deals with your property. The articles and bylaws is a corporation, what these guys do. And you can live happily ever after without your bylaws. Right, because these guys are going to run the business and they'll take care of the money and all that. It's a bylaw function. But the declaration, that's what happens on your lot, your home, and you probably care a lot more about that than you do what's up here. So there are things in 720 that do affect declaration, and there are things in 720 that do affect your bylaws, such as the voting process. Legislature almost touched that this year, but didn't. They miscued on it. It may come up in the 27 legislative session, which will have a problem timing-wise, because Brookridge, you need to have all your amendments done long before your meeting. And session next year, I think it's an early session, so it may work out okay, because they rotate based on when they're up for election. It's kind of weird, but
I should have argued.
I should have been too. Thanks for your question. Yes, ma'am. The question was, if they're going to review the document, shouldn't they have the community involved? At some point or another, they should. The question is when. Whether, and again, it's up to how you're going to do it. You could say, look, everybody has access to the documents. They're on your website. If you don't have them, come to the office. You can look them up in public records. And if there's something that you don't like, maybe you've been cited because of some issue. I'm not going to pick on one at this point. And you say, we ought to change that, keep up with our neighbors, keep up with 2026 practices. And let's face it, we're in a dry spell. We have internet. There are a lot of things that weren't necessarily in place when Brookridge was created. Working at home, we learned from COVID, people could do that without really annoying their neighbors too badly. So, and it really didn't hurt property values that somebody was working from home. But okay, so we might change that and say, okay, this is what we would allow here at Brookridge based on our current knowledge. And I also like to say, you could go to Kmart or Home Depot and you'll find all kinds of cool things. Should they be permitted or prohibited in Brookridge? And you look at that and go, I wouldn't want to live next to that, or I would like to have one of those for my own. And you may need to put that in the restrictions to make it possible to happen. And it's just a matter of keeping up with what's available. So I strongly encourage you to do that. Go to the community. Quite often what we do is the committee will rewrite the documents and then they'll pass them out to you and say, here, this is what we've come up with, because they live here too. And so eventually they will. In the process, before you vote, there should be a town hall type meeting where they go over the documents, and whether it's page by page or section by section, and say, does anybody have any comments or questions on these pages or that page or that section? Or just generically, do you have questions or suggestions about the documents? It should not be. What I'm saying is in the process. Okay. We're talking about two different things here.
Yeah.
If we're doing the documents, it's an owner's vote. So it's not what they vote. It's your vote, number one. But more importantly, it's an important document, all of it together, declaration, articles, bylaws. And I wouldn't want you to break it out, because we will historically make a couple hundred changes. And it may be a word choice or a comma or a period or spelling. I'm not going to have a separate vote for every one of those. So it'll be the entire document. We may take out one or two sections and say, look, that's a hot topic here. Typically it has to do with trucks, parking, lifestyle issues. And we may just call those out separately, because I don't want you voting yes or no based upon your feeling about trucks or pets. We saw the vote tonight about pets. Obviously it's a divided issue, but not enough to carry an amendment. It could have killed the entire document if that was in the new ones as written. So sometimes we'll pull those out. So we do the town hall type meeting to familiarize, but also quite often somebody will be in that audience and he or she will come up with a really good idea that the committee didn't think of. And we recognize and appreciate that. And so before we're going to go for the vote that's really going to count, we go to the community and say, is there anything else? And say, well, you didn't address recreational vehicles, or you didn't address whatever it is of their concern. And it may go back for further workshopping, or they may just say, okay, recreational vehicles are permitted or prohibited, whatever the rule is, we're going to do that. People are here, you express your opinions, that becomes the document. Then you're asked to vote on it and say, hey, remember back on April 22, we met, you brought up the thing about whatever. Look at article, whatever it is. We went with exactly what you said. It's in the documents now. We're asking the members to vote on it based on what is in the documents. Sir.
Maybe the only one doesn't know, but what is the 720?
Good question. The gentleman asked, what is a 720? Chapter 720 in the Florida statutes. And it's called the Homeowner Association Act. It used to be part 3 of chapter 617. There's a trivia point for you. Go home and use that. It has a lot of value. That's why when you open up 720, those of you who are really nerds and get into this stuff, you look at chapter 720. That's you. Yes, ma'am, you're a nerd. You and I together, we're nerds. Come on, we have something in common. You read 720, and it begins 720.301. And you go, how the heck that happened? Because it used to be part 3 of 617, and it was 617.301, and they migrated it to become its own 720 several years ago. But it grew on its own, and they said it's too big, and then so they cut it off, and it became 720. So you've got 719 cooperatives, 720 homeowner associations, 718 condos, 723 mobile home, and I missed my co-ops in there someplace. I think those are 719s, co-ops, and then I've got timeshares. So they're all, each one has its own separate statute. You got it? Did that help? Did that help you? Yes, all the way back. Yes, ma'am. Hi.
You're saying the 720, and I read the 720 and I read the bylaws. Why is it in the 720 it says a recall is permitted and that we are certain things that we are allowed to do? And then when we try and do them, we're being blocked because the president said, my attorney said recall.
Want to talk about the recall? Right. For the group who gave the paper tonight about the recall, my candid view of what was given to me looks like ChatGPT, if that. It was a very poorly done AI document. Okay. But as to recall, if it was done correctly, would be taken much more seriously. That document, because it was not Florida specific and Florida compliant, that's why you were told that it's not going anywhere what you were doing. If you do it correctly, it'll be given great respect, and it's certainly your right to do that. Florida law allows a majority of the owners.
And we asked for a space here in the community, for the whole country residents, to have this room where we can announce, to come in and sign if you're interested. And we've been denied it.
That's their prerogative.
720, as they have to get us around.
Ah, show me where that is in 720.
I will.
Okay. Do you have it tonight so you can bring it to everybody? For the next board meeting, what is May 20th? Bring that where it says that the association must provide you with a room for signatures. I saw you assert that. It is not in Florida law, I can tell you that. Okay? And that's another example. Wherever you're looking at is not Florida law. And so I feel badly for you because you're reading it and you're following it, you're doing what you think was the right way to do it. You get frustrated when she says no. Okay?
But then we're being told that because we're not a club, a recall maybe is not a club. So because we're not a club, we're not allowed to have a room.
Okay.
But we're residents, not everybody is a club. We're not a club,
Okay.
so why aren't we allowed to have a room?
That's up to the board as far as regulation of use of the rooms.
They have clubs that have rules here that people aren't even in clubs and they get it. They went around soliciting for a law.
Yes.
The board held.
All right, Mr. Gentleman. Yes, sir.
No, it's not soliciting, and we haven't been to it.
Well, a lot of that's how it's done, and can it be done correctly? Yes. Has it been done wrong? Yes. Has it been done correctly? I assume it has in some instances.
We have not been door to door because we were told we were not allowed.
Okay. And some communities are more aggressive about that, and because there have been complaints about people coming door to door asking for signatures, that's usually when they cut it off.
Not from us, maybe for fence with the construction company.
No, that was for the wall.
Okay. Ma'am, I heard that people were regarding the recall, right or wrong, and, okay. But anyway, that's what happens.
We have not, we're doing it someplace else.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Comments, questions? This was, yes, sir.
I'm just wondering if you can like attend meetings a little more often, like last year. And seeing you, there's a lot of questions.
I haven't seen you either. Would you attend more meetings?
He's here.
You do, I know, I do. I come anytime, and, may help you get through the meetings a little quicker than before. I've seen some of the YouTube videos. I understand that it could be challenging for some people. And, and the lady in the back on the recall, it's just as challenging for her to be told no as it is for the board to have her come up and, get them off cue as far as their script goes and what's on the agenda. And respect her rights to try to do the recall. All we ask is that you do it correctly. You'll get a lot further that way. Yes, ma'am. Hi. That's you? You with the pink. Yes.
My question is, while a lot of us respect people's opinions and the way to talk, we don't appreciate the disruptions and what we call the sheriff's. What can we do legally to, do we have a right to not have the full meeting so the rest of us can hear?
The question was basically, what are we going to do about people who are disrupting the meetings, speaking out? I don't want to put words in your mouth. You having to call the sheriff's office, gentleman in the back, I'm sure he's got better things to do. Go out and write speeding tickets or something for us. Keep us safe. What can you do legally?
I feel people have a right to speak, but when they get disruptive, I don't want to be here.
Right. And you make a valid point, obviously. If the meetings get to be disruptive, nobody wants to go to the meetings. You'd rather go home and watch reruns or something than come to the meetings. And you really should come to your meetings. It's your community, and they respect your input. You have something to say about your documents or something. That's your opportunity, and you don't want to be driven from it because other people are obnoxious, and rude, and whatever else you want to call them. Number one, it's going to take the community, and also, and I've talked to Catherine about this, and I'll tell you, she has to have a bigger gavel. Okay?
I got a bigger one.
Yeah, she has to.
I'm kind of scared.
We have to stop tolerating it at the meetings, okay? So, there's always a place for member comment. There is. It's never that you're, prohibited from speaking at the meetings, but let the business of the community move per the agenda. Okay, and then when it gets to the member comment, if it's after a vote, it's after a vote. Comment should be before the votes, by the way, on the subject. And yes, if somebody is so disruptive that we can't, recess the meeting and call the deputy and ask for him or her to be removed. And say, they're disrupting a public meeting, it's disorderly conduct. We have a few witnesses here, some of them are reliable. We have it on video, and typically, when the sheriff shows up, they will calm down. They may be escorted out and, put in timeout for a few minutes. We're not really probably going to see them carted off, to jail. But
We're not violating their rights if they're on.
Would you repeat that?
We're not violating their rights if they're disruptive.
We are not violating their rights if they're disruptive. I did that on purpose because it's better when you say it than I say it. It's just that it's a meeting of the corporation. It has an agenda. They're going to follow their agenda. They're going to get their business done. And you're not going to stop them. I promise you. You may make them a little uncomfortable and people may cheer you on or boo you or whatever. At the end of the day, this corporation is still going to get its business done one way or the other. And, we've had times where we've had to go out of our way to make sure we get something done that really it shouldn't have been. It's like tonight's meeting. Okay, you didn't quite get the meeting done on time the way it should have been. But as between doing it illegally or doing it late was probably a better choice. And so you had to do that. Doing it, without. Okay, so here we are. Yes, hi. Explain the 80-20 rule. You're referring to fair housing with the 80% 55 and older? 80-20 rule was created when, I think it was Senator Ted Kennedy was in Congress. And it's that long ago. And what they said in the statute is that in order to be a 55 and older community you have to have at least 80% of the people 55 and older, and it's at least. So I've got communities that are 100%, and it's 80% have to have at least one person. I have, again, communities where it's 100%. So the way the law is written, it gives you some leeway to mess with it a little bit. The 20% has always been a problem at Brookridge because it's been interpreted differently by different people, somewhat for their convenience, somewhat for their own logical or illogical read of the thing. So what we suggest is, and this could be in the new documents, things have evolved since Kennedy was in the legislature, in the Congress. It would be to say, look, what do we want with that 20%? A lot of the HUD suggestions, and this is pre-Trump HUD, because they also have changed their view of the 20%. The 20% was for surviving spouses. If you happen to be lucky enough to have a spouse who's less than 55 and you pass, and he or she is still living there. It was for people who get it by inheritance. Your children typically get the title that they can live in the home that they inherited, even though they're not. And so you get those kinds of things. And yet, if you don't have anything, the board can have a rule. It's for open market or it's not. And sometimes we get what we call creep, where creeping is we now have 18%, 19%, 20%. Oops, now she wants to sell her home, and I'm going to say no to the buyer. You can't live there because if that person moves in, I've lost my 80%, and it's all her fault. Just because you're in the front row, I can pick on you. You've been so nice. Seriously, the 20% is a plug number for us, but also understand that the 80-20 is determined on an individual day. So if we took a census today, April 22, we could be in compliance and be out of compliance on April 23. And so we've got to be in compliance anytime somebody calls us on it and says, are you really a 55 and older community? And we say, well, here's our census as of April 22. And you're supposed to take a census every 2 years. And this one is another thing that totally boggles my mind, but it's federal government stuff, is that they came to my door 2 years ago and I was 60 years old. They came to my door again and said, prove your age. I go, wait a minute. I was 60 years old 2 years ago. Do you think I'm 52 now? What's up with that? But that's the federal law. They require me, so please have patience with them when they come to the door and say, I haven't gotten any younger. That I passed, I was 55 or older then, you have it down, I'm good. You had my driver's license, some kind of an ID, and you know exactly what my year of birth is. And some of us don't like telling our year of birth, I get that. But if somebody can attest and say, hey, I went to Richard's retirement when he was 55, and that was just 2 years ago, so I know he's 57, he's over 55, and I can attest for it, but Richard doesn't want to say how old he is. It's his right. He doesn't have to show it or tell us, but we can circumstantially prove it. Or he works in a business where we know that it's got mandatory retirement at 60, and he's been retired for 6 months, so he's at least 60 because he's in mandatory retirement. So we've circumstantially shown that because he retired from that. Maybe he was an airline pilot or something. I believe they have a age 60 retirement. So you have some of those things. And so, yeah, the whole census thing, I urge you, if you haven't, to try to keep that up. The state used to have a registry of 55 and older communities. They don't maintain it anymore. It's still there, but it's kind of historical purposes only. It's who used to be. Again, not that those folks are getting any younger, but they may have gotten rid of their restriction. Sir? Oh. How often are you supposed to? No, there's not a set time for me to be at meetings. It's really up to the board. Like I said, I've seen several meetings by YouTube. It doesn't help you in real time. But as far as addressing the issues with the board, saying, okay, and they're really good about it because they'll tell me, go to 33 minutes and 12 seconds into it, so I don't have to listen to the first 30 minutes. But I sometimes do. I don't tell you that, but But I do go to that exact point where, she tells me to go or he tells me to go to look at it and go from there. Sir?
You know, you said something about being here. This is really enjoyable tonight. All we hear from the board is the attorney said, well, him and God live together. So we don't know the difference.
Would you tell my wife that?
Right.
Right. No, what he's saying is that I get quoted from the board and it makes it difficult. Number one, and I'll say this to the board, don't quote the attorney. Okay? There's a lot of problems with doing that. I give you the advice, you go ahead and implement it. Okay? So they shouldn't be doing what you're saying. So I don't.
Every time we say we're an attorney, we're having down there. We can't afford that here, right? We just can't afford that.
I think you're gonna hear less of that, right?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, good. Thank you for making that point.
Will you be here more?
That's up to them, but I think you'll hear less about that, and I think she's shaking her head, and I'm happy to come. I live just down the street, kind of, just follow the road. Yes, ma'am, hi.
After a person's house has a lien, how long do they have to pay that up?
The question was, after a home has a lien on it, how long do they have to pay it up? Depends on how aggressive the board is about it and what the status is. For example, if it's in mortgage foreclosure, we may just sit and watch because the mortgage is going to come and foreclose our lien out. There's no sense us spending more money on it to do something. And unfortunately, there's a fairly good portion that go that way. But if it's not in mortgage foreclosure and it's not in bankruptcy, those are the two we want to watch. Oh, give me a third one. If they're still alive, because if there's no estate opened, or if there's an estate and you end up going through the probate stuff, that could take a long time. But the normal ones, they're alive and well and not in foreclosure or bankruptcy. It's 45 days after the lien is filed, you can file for foreclosure. You can't file in the first 45 days. Then they get 20 days to answer the complaint once they're served. Then we have to get on the judge's calendar. I was on the judge's calendar yesterday for one of your cases. It was not a foreclosure, it was a rule enforcement case. And the motion that we were hearing was filed in January, and it was heard yesterday, April 21. So 2.5 to 3 months to get on that judge's calendar. And he apologized because they are short a judge or two here in the county. And so he was doing double duty, and he was telling me that he hopes to have those positions filled by September. So cases are moving a little bit slower than we would like to.
5 years not paying?
5 years not paying, would have to look at that and see why. If somebody is in bankruptcy, if somebody's in mortgage foreclosure, if there's some reason, then yes, you want to be very, very careful about the 5 years. If I don't have a good reason for it, 5 years is statute of limitations, and I start losing money out the other end. So let's assume at the 5-year mark, they owe us $6,000. Well, that number's not going up the next month because I'm going to lose a month on the other end. You following my math on that? Okay. So the old debt falls off. Even though I pick up the new debt, I may lose the old debt. So it doesn't grow after the 5 years. Some people like to sit on them and say, well, we're going to wait to foreclose, or we'll wait till they sell their property, wait till they pass, and then we'll take the money. That's not a really good strategy because that doesn't encourage everyone else. It's kind of like the IRS. We want to encourage people to pay. It's not a lot of money, and it's important that everybody pays, and then it really works out. When a couple people don't pay, then you end up with some bad debt, and it really puts a stress on everybody else. And then, obviously you have budget issues in Brookridge, trying to get a realistic budget passed, and you keep squeezing and squeezing, and that's a whole nother issue, which I'm not going to talk about, I promise. I want you all to be young when you get out of here. But seriously, that it becomes a problem. So you do have to be vigilant about your collections, particularly where your budgets are squeezed. Can it be turned over to collection agency? Can it? Oh, okay. Can it be turned over to collection agency? Yes. Should it? No. Reason being, and I used to be counsel for the largest collection agency in the world, and all they do, they take the percentage, usually between 30 and 40%, depending on the type of debt. They hound them to death. That's what they do, and we train them well to hound people to death illegally. So they send letters, they make phone calls, the law limits when they can call between certain hours and so forth, and they have to announce themselves and all that kind of stuff. It's now federally regulated, Federal Trade Commission and all that. But it can be done. It's not very effective, particularly if you have somebody who has experience in dealing with this or somebody who flat out can't make their payments. Yeah, I would not recommend that a homeowner association do, number one, and I'm not looking out for my brethren, and our firm doesn't handle your collections, but the attorney's fees and costs incurred in the collection process get added onto it. So what was a very small number when somebody didn't pay a few months can get to be a very large number. And hopefully that is an incentive for people to pay, going, look, you only owe about $400. If you give it to the attorney, it's gonna be well over $1,000. That $400, because it's $500 just for the filing fee for going into court, service of process, plus the attorney's fees, plus all the other things that go along with it, gets to be way expensive. I candidly think that's a better way to go, because that's your money, meaning Brookridge's money, that we can get back. And if collected, you get 100% of it, and I'd rather see Brookridge get 100% plus the interest, plus the late fees and all that good stuff. It becomes far more profitable for you to use the legal methods. If you can get it, and if you can't, the collection agency is not going to be able to either, okay? If I pick my deadbeat, oh, you're hiding on me. No, you're not a deadbeat, so I can't pick on you. No, seriously, if I pick on this deadbeat and they are going down financially, they have serious health issues, they are out of money, they are wisely using their money for their health care and for their medicine, as they should. And they're not paying Brookridge. First of all, we're a community and we pretty much know each other. And so if somebody's not doing well, and I heard tonight that somebody I'm aware of here in Brookridge was not doing well, you understand. And everybody knows why that person's not here tonight, because I was kind of looking forward to seeing them again, and they're not here because they're not doing well. And if they end up on the delinquent list, they'll probably get a pass. And we know that I'm not going to stick a collection agency on them and hound them while they're having those problems. And that's a health problem for this person. But there are other issues in life that come up, and we as a community, we pretty much know. And I'm not telling you that we're going to play Queen for a day either. At least I'm old enough to remember Queen for a day, and you get a washing machine and a box of soap if you had some horrible tragedy in your life. Wow, right? How's that for a memory, right? Richard had a question.
Can Brookridge deny a snowbird from being on the board?
Can Brookridge deny a snowbird? Great question. Because this came up in the election process. Can Brookridge deny a snowbird from being on the board? And the answer is absolutely positively no. Every owner has the right to serve on the board. Now you, the owners, and most of you are not snowbirds because you're sitting here tonight and it's April 22. You know who the snowbirds are. And if you don't, you're going to find out pretty quickly, because everybody's going to say, Susie's a snowbird, don't vote for her. Or Susie's a snowbird, but she is willing to be at the meetings by Zoom or by phone. She is willing to be the secretary, because, there are things, or she's got some expertise. She adds something to the board that we don't have. Or, there comes a time where there are snowbirds here. They have a different view of the world, right? They may. Maybe they deserve a seat on the board because they are a snowbird and they bring something different. I'm a member of the Florida Bar's real property section. We have an out-of-state delegate. there are enough out-of-state members of the bar that bring an interest to the Florida bar based on their being from out of state. So we want to make sure they get education or whatever it is, or they bring us stuff saying, hey, did you know that the New York bar does this? And hey, that's pretty cool. Same thing here, if somebody's a snowbird and they say, hey, we need better security, or what happens when I'm away for 3 months and my water wasn't turned off, or the hurricane is coming through. Should we have something here? Maybe, maybe not. Hey, it's your property, you take care of it, which is really what the law is. But if you want to be neighborly about it and turn the water off or do something for them, or take a check on it. But so yeah, snowbirds, Richard, yes, they can serve. There was, I think somebody had it in a bylaw provision or something, is it not enforceable? So, because we get in these things about residency, must be, here at Brookridge 6 months of the year. Well, these people probably all plan on being here 6 months of the year. Tomorrow something bad happens in their life and they're gone tomorrow. And it's not like they lied to you, just, life happens. And so they are not going to be here. And so we may have to have them participate by phone or Zoom, just like the snowbird would have. They're no different, and it's just something that we're going to have to accommodate if that happens. So no residency requirement. I get it. Some people, they have to work in the office or they have to put in their time. And that's great that you've got people who do have the time, the knowledge, and the ability or the willingness to do it. But on the other hand, 13th Amendment went out a few years ago. It's still in place.
There was, I believe, a mother-daughter duo in here that lived in here, or maybe one did and the other didn't. But they supposedly had like 19 homes that they were renting out. Did that get squashed and get taken care of?
Question was, you had a mother-daughter who owned 19 homes. What happened?
Also, sir, I understood too that a lot of renters were being brought in unvetted and like doing all kinds of crazy wacky stuff.
Okay, she asked about unvetted renters and having problems. What's in place now? Forgetting that you want to answer that because that's not one of mine. Yeah.
Okay, now what we're trying to do, and so far is working, is when we get notified by a realtor and the realtor is asking for the paperwork needed for them to close on the home, we first say, we need the buyer to come to submit their paperwork so that we can do their background check. And it works to a certain degree. We have to respond to the realtor within 10 days. So if the person does not get in here and get background check, we have to all give the realtor the money so that they can sell the home. But in most cases, it works that the people come right in, they get their paperwork done, they get their background check done, and that's it. But what about that?
Did you investigate the seller to see how many homes they have?
We have a list now of sellers, people that have 3 and more homes. We have lists now at the front. And so we do, it hasn't happened yet, but they're going to tell them they cannot purchase another home in Brookridge. Like, we're really sorry because we're trying to keep the renters. We don't want it to end up being a rental community, which is that's not a mother and daughter that have those 19 homes. That's an LLC that has, but there's a couple that have 19, somebody else has like 24, somebody else has 12. Like, there's several. Yes, exactly.
The question is whether you can connect them.
Well, we are now. Apparently, it's never been done in the past. That's how people bought 19 homes and stuff. But but it's now, we have a listing, so we're trying to prevent that from happening. We can't make them sell the home. We can't make somebody that's bought those 19 homes, we can't tell them you have to sell.
But I understood that
We're trying to what?
No, I understood that the majority of these people that own ginormous.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, they're
But
gonna
I
be
heard
rentals.
that, like,
They're all rentals.
if I'm over here at Great Smith and I'm the owner of one of these 19 homes, I'm just letting Susie Q come over here and live in it without vetting her or making sure she's.
And there's no perfect solution except if neighbors realize this might have happened, then we have code enforcement watch them. We send a violation. If we find out that's definitely has happened, we send a violation saying you have an unknown person living in your home. And that has worked where, all of a sudden now somebody's coming in that's lived there for 2 years and they're doing their background check.
So if the neighbor does call on something nefarious or whatever.
Yeah.
What do you guys do? Is you like,
We send,
how do you handle it?
well, code enforcement, we look at the license plates coming in and out. I mean, it's a lot of man hours to track this, but they try to figure out, are they visiting or are they coming daily? Is it somebody that actually lives there or is it someone visiting? So it's code enforcement typically takes care of that and then reports to us what's happening with it.
So if you find somebody who's been there, let's say they're cooking crack in their patio area, if they smell some stuff.
Well, I mean, we've called the sheriff's office and the sheriff's office typically we've had people that have been booted out because of that or taken, to jail. Like we do report stuff. It's just that the sheriff's office, sometimes it takes weeks, months, even over a year or more for them to actually get a solid case on somebody that's doing something like that, any drug activities. It takes a long time and that's unfortunate, but it's the way it
But
works.
you still, the first rule of thumb is anybody in here that's a resident, if you see something, say something. Otherwise, we don't know. We can't track something we're not aware of. We can't get code enforcement to keep an eye on them. We can't let the attorney know what's going on. We don't know. So we can't move forward. So anytime you see something, say it. Thank you.
I know you do.
Of course you do. Gentleman has a question over here. Yes, sir.
Can you have more than one snowbird on the board?
Can you have more than one snowbird? Sure. On the board.
Thank you.
But that's up to you to elect or not elect them. And this is where, it's kind of disappointing tonight to have 4 for 4, wasn't it? Community this size? Yeah. Yes, you can have more than one, but I'd sure like to see a real election. Yes, sir.
Companies are charging higher rates than residents, and that sounds like the company.
Okay.
Residents of Menifee,
The question was, the insurance companies charge the snowbirds more for insurance than the owner occupies. That's a risk assessment issue. It's not treating them differently. It's if I'm, and this happens to us every year, if I'm a snowbird, I'm gone from, say, April till November, and I have a leak in the house, and I come back, it's gonna be a really color green and black and wet all over. If I lived here, I come home at night and there's a leak, I get those shot vac, I clean it up and maybe call somebody to help out, and it's really nominal. So the risk that the insurance company takes with the snowbird who leaves the place unattended for months intentionally is much higher. Same thing, a fire occurs or whatever it is. Also, less likely to be broken into because they see activity. People want to break into open homes. So it is a higher risk. There is a logic if it were, and insurance companies are not necessarily logical. I don't want to give them too much credit, but at the same time, you have to understand that they're looking at the risk assessment. You go home and you're going to check everything's okay tonight.
they'll just deny the claim anyway.
Or charge you double next year because you made a claim. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, some of my best friends are snowbirds, right?
But my thing is, let's say we have 7 people on board, and what happens to our community? They're not there to do what needs to be done. So how does that happen? Because
Okay. The question was, you have, say, a 7-person board and 5 are snowbirds. Well, we got, say the majority board, no matter what number you have on the board, majority are snowbirds. How are we gonna get our community run? You have a professional sitting right there. Right, licensed community association manager, taking care of the place. Board meets once a month. They go ahead and they don't have to physically be anywhere. And, bless them for working in the office and doing the things they've been doing to keep this place afloat. I don't think anybody got paid a whole lot for what they did. And I'm not sure if anybody ever thanked them for it. I know people were not exactly appreciative of how much work they did put in, because I was aware of it and I saw what was going on. But that's it. Your choice was nothing or them as the volunteers, and I'd rather have them as the volunteers than nobody. And you're right. I mean, if they're in, say, Canada or someplace even further away, how are they going to do it? And it may be that they have to do things online, or they may take a trip down here, or they may not be willing to, and they're still a board member. Not going to show up at the meetings, they're busy. My friend over here who was doing the recall left already, but that's a perfect example. If somebody without excuse, and I know that we've had board members with valid reasons. Okay, we understand. And if you communicate with the board and say, hey, I'm going to be out of town, or just not able to attend, nobody's going to kick you off this board. But if you are just lazy and they just go incommunicado, they don't answer their emails or their phones, and they don't attend, that's the time you want to recall them. And if he or she was an officer, they're not going to be an officer for very long, because we need our officers to do what officers do, and directors, right? So they're going to get knocked down, but it takes the community to remove them, and the board would be asking you, saying, Susie Jones has not shown up for board meetings, and she hasn't even returned to, our phone calls or our emails. And we saw her out there playing pickleball, and there's nothing wrong with her. She's fine. Time to recall Susie Smith. I would ask the board to stand up here and do that and say, for the community, even though she's a wonderful person, she's a great pickleball player, but at the end of the day, she's a horrible board member. We need you, the community, to remove her, and it takes the board asking you, or you recognizing it, going, where is she? We saw her out there. So if it bothers you, it probably bothers them even more. Sir?
How many HOAs do you represent?
How many HOAs do I represent? Hard to say, because I've got some that I represent that I never hear from. I've got some that I hear from almost every day. I'm going to guess, Mike, like you? No, I don't hear from you guys every day. I'm going to guess about 200 if I'm off a little bit, but I also have a staff of like 8, and there are currently 14 attorneys in our Tampa office and 150 around the state. Not mine, I'm just one of the senior shareholders.
The other thing is, how are you paid? You're on retainer all the time, right?
The retainer gets you discounted hourly rate, education. So new board members, you have to take your class and all that kind of stuff. Becker offers it on demand 24/7 online. You can get that, as well as a lot of legislative information, what's going on in the legislature, and vice versa. So if Brookridge had a great idea about something for legislation, just talk to us, and we have people in Tallahassee to do that. So that's all under the retainer. If you weren't a retainer client, we go, yeah, here's the address for your representative, good luck. So that's what that gets us. Everything else is pretty much hourly. And I think Catherine will probably tell you, I tend to be pretty reasonable in the billing. There's things I forget to bill. It's old age setting in or something like that. But You know, but that's fine. I mean, you know,
I don't remind you.
and she doesn't, and we're fine. And then I asked the board, just funnel your communications through one person. I like all your board members equally. You know, and if Catherine wasn't the president, whoever it would be, I would communicate with him or her. And focus all your communication through that person, so I don't get 6 phone calls or 7 phone calls or emails about the same thing. And here's a hint, a lot of them will try to advocate for their position. You know, they'll try to, you know, board members will do that. And so if I can trust, in this case, Catherine, to do it, or it'll be the manager, we'll have that same relationship, and I actually prefer the manager, nothing personal, Catherine, because he, in this case, he knows the politics and he can ask the question in a fair and balanced way, or present both sides of the issue, saying, I've got 2 board members saying this and 3 board members, I don't care who they are, they're board members. And he'll tell me, say, hey, I've got a split on the board over this issue, what to do. We'll work it through and give them the guidance back. And I try, you know, you say, well, how do you represent a couple hundred associations? One, I work about 6.5 days a week, but also keeping them out of trouble. And really, that's always been the objective. Very few, I think I've got one association right now being sued, and that has to do with them putting in a pickleball court.
Wow.
I mean, that's, you know, and it's been on the news and all that. You know, and lawsuits, I don't recommend them. You know, I do it for a living. I'm in court at least twice a week, and yet I don't recommend it. It's expensive, it's divisive, and at the end of the day, there are no real winners. You know, even like yesterday, I was in court for Brookridge against one of your residents over a deed restriction issue. And so now she has a judgment against her for about $4,000. And for what? You know, she just needed to comply and didn't.
What did it cost us?
What did it cost you?
Yeah.
It cost you the $4,000 until she pays it. And she's still living here. I checked with the, you know, official records, and she still owns her home. There is no mortgage foreclosure against her. So if she sells that home, we have a judgment against it. We hope to get paid out of the closing, so I don't have to do more. You did have one about 2 years ago against another lady and her son, who are owners, and they give us their financial records, and they're in pretty bad shape. So that judgment's just going to sit there until they pass their title and something else will happen. But if somebody has assets, we will go after their assets, and that can be somewhat cruel. So we try to be nice about it. We really do. I mean, if we can just come to terms and say, look, pay $50 a month until it's paid, typically we'll recommend that they do that. If they try hiding assets and things, we can usually find them, and we're less cooperative that way. So, you know, if they're fair, we're fair. And I mean that. Question over here? Kelly does. All the way over there. Hey, Kelly.
Hi, there's just 2 online questions.
Oh, good.
How does the attorney feel about Finance Oversight Committee being formed based on your experience?
Depends what the Finance Oversight Committee is going to do. Watch the finances. Well, you're all on the Finance Committee, okay? The Finance Oversight Committee. Because probably you all have some sensitivities to things. You all can read financials to some degree. Whether that means, hey, the budget, we're over budget because we see a budget to date number and it's out of whack. But maybe that it's a seasonal thing, such as the insurance was paid in March, and so now we're going to be over budget in April because we just paid a large bill in March. Okay, but if you understand how all that works, you get it, and that one's fine, you'll take a pass. But if the water bill is out of sync and there's no reason for that, we're under water restrictions and everything else, there's something wrong, then we ought to be able to call it out and say, hey, let's find out where this water leak is or why our water bill is high. That's your money. And so I don't really need an oversight committee to do that. I would rather have the owners do it and our treasurer. I was president of my homeowner association until I became saint. No, sorry. I was president of my homeowner association for several years, and I had an amazing treasurer who every month found mistakes in the financials, every single month. And we're with a management company, and they did the reports. He found a mistake every month, without exception. The man was amazing. His company that he worked for was being sold, so he had to quit being the treasurer for about a year. So I got a new treasurer in. You know, there were no more mistakes in the financials for a year. You know? And so it does take a little more critical thinking, you know, and closer analysis. And even with a management company that has been in business for years, and we are a small community, we should be pretty easy. You know, where, you know, it's like no more difficult than doing your own checkbook, that they couldn't get it right month over month. And it became the challenge. And so I got my treasurer back, and mistakes started happening again. It's all his fault. But, you know, and I go to communities. Obviously, I go to, you know, tonight I'm here at Brookridge. I go to different communities, and I can tell if I go to that community, the treasurer is going to spot a problem when I go to their meeting. Haven't looked at their financial, but I know it's just part of the routine. He or she's going to stand up and say, excuse me, there's a mistake here, line 43, they charged it to the wrong account, or why did we pay twice, or that's not our community, whatever it is. They catch it. Then I'll go to the next one is everybody, you know, let's approve the financial report, blah, blah, blah. Nobody read the thing. They open their envelopes at the meeting. They can't read a balance sheet to save their life. I get it. They don't understand accrual. They don't understand the reports, but they're volunteers and they're trying, and okay. So we should not in Brookridge need an oversight committee. And there are enough people here who, you know, you care and you can read. Yes, ma'am. And I'll come back to your second one in a second. I haven't got it. How much is the recall costing is the question, right? Mm-hmm. If the board chooses to fight the recall, it's going to cost us. I don't know who said that. What recall? That's a really good way of putting it. What recall? Okay, so far it hasn't cost you a lot. I'm going to say a few $100 maybe in the conversations, things I've been reading their stuff.
What about property value?
What about property? That's a good point. I'll get back to you in a second, but I got this question over here. But as far as what would happen, the strategy so far, and I'll make it public, is as long as they're not doing it correctly, we're not going to respond to it. So it's not going to cost you anything, because I agree with you. There's no sense responding to something that's invalid and spending my time and your money on something invalid. And so as long as they continue to use what they're using, this chat GPT stuff or AI, whatever the heck that stuff is that they're using it from, whatever their source is, it's nonsense. All right? If they do it correctly, it's no longer nonsense, then it will cost you. And if it's done correctly, those board members are going to be removed. But they're going to need a majority vote, and I suspect that most of the people in this room would say no to it just because you're still here tonight and they're gone. But snowbirds, you know, I think the snowbirds are probably your neighbors. So you don't have to go too far in Brookridge to find a snowbird, you know, next to you across the street. And so if you need to be preemptive about it and say, hey, neighbor, if they approach you on a recall, please call me before you sign anything or do anything.
What are we recalling?
What are we recalling? Good question. We're recalling nothing so far. But if what they are trying to recall is the board, and I think it was all of them, or yeah, it was all of them. Except Richard. They love Richard. I mean, Richard doesn't love them. No, I don't know. know, Richard, I haven't spoken with Richard about it, but Richard's not part of it, and, you know, that's fine.
Excuse me, can I say
Yes,
so?
can I hold on, can we get the other person?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, I'll come right back to you.
Okay.
And I got him over here.
This is the final question for the attorney. What can be done to make the process move more quickly for finding out past financial issues and/or alleged theft? Thank you for attending this evening.
All right, I'm aware of what they're talking about, and I know this is something that, the question was dealing with the past financial issues. There are people who've had their reputations dragged through the mud, you know. She's stolen things, probably because she's in the front row. She's stolen things, or she knows where the money's hidden, and you know that nice car that she drove in here tonight on? You paid for it. Stop, right? You know, it's just not fair to her because she worked hard for that nice car, and she's not a thief. She's a lovely lady. Okay? So you've got that kind of thing going on, that there's allegations made against people's reputations. There are people who are fighting the investigation. We don't have the money for the audit. We don't have this and that. Folks, you have the money for the audit. I heard your financials tonight, right? So, yeah, board members, are we committed to getting this done?
Oh, the audit?
Richard? The members voted 2 years ago. Well, can I ask Catherine that? Their saying means a lot, and I agree with you, Richard. Okay, Richard makes the point that the members voted for an audit. Catherine? Where is this audit? I'm gonna call you out in front of everybody.
Jerry, I've been
No,
told
don't
by,
mess
no,
with
no, no, I've been told by the treasurer and our auditor that we have the money for this and that I've requested that we do 2023. So I believe that we are looking at and trying to find somebody that will take that 1 year. Is that correct? Okay, so I believe just as soon as we find that, we intend to put that in place. And that should be within the next 30 days or so?
Yes, the next 30 days, but also we have had to wait to see what the sheriff's department wanted us to get.
Correct.
The sheriff's not gonna stop you from doing an audit. They may ask you to do
Right.
more.
They want us to connect some of the.
There's no doubt they want you to.
Yeah.
They always want you to hand it to them on a gold platter. Nothing personal, deputy, but, you know, seriously, because I get embezzlement cases a lot, and I've dealt with Hillsborough, Pinellas, Pasco, Hernando sheriffs on these, and they all want us to give them an audit, and we've given them audits and with different success in dealing with these things. But internally here at Brookridge, we have a question that we need answered. And so we ought to start with an audit and see where that takes us. And if it means, you said 23, if that means then we go back to 22 or something else, because the sheriff wants us to, and they've got to deal with the statute of limitations and other issues. I look at it, it's not fair, number one, to the corporation, it's my client, because we have these allegations. Number two, it's not fair to the people who live here, it's your money. Number three, it's not fair to the people who are named. So we have all the people involved. So why can't we get it together and just say, for the good of everybody? And it may clear people's names. It may point to people who are responsible. Don't know. I hope it comes out good for everybody. But we won't know until it's done. So it's going to be on the May 20th agenda as an action item.
It already.
It is?
Yes, it already is on the agenda. It's in a little red envelope, so we're all good.
Okay. I owe this gentleman next. You had a question? Property values, yeah. I, in preparing for the meeting tonight, went on Facebook. What? You know, shame on the people. I mean, but then again, folks, newsflash, you're not the only community that has people posting ugly on Facebook or on Nextdoor or any of the other chat things that are out there. and people hide behind their keyboards and they say ugly and stupid. Sometimes they bring it to the meeting, but more often than not, they'll put it on Facebook as if it's truth, and then people go, yeah, me too. And, the things I learned, I wasn't even at the meeting and they tell me that the attorney said something I didn't say. I wasn't even there, and they'll still quote me and say, oh, he was there and he said. I don't know. But
I lost $50,000.
okay, the gentleman's saying that he's lost $50,000 on his property. The problem with property value impact is hard to prove. Now, there are appraisers who may be able to tell you why. And if they keep the track record, you see the little chart and they say which way your property value is headed. They're estimates, and I don't necessarily put a lot of stock in it, but it's the best you might have at the moment. And you look at the Zillow thing and say, well, it's consistently inaccurate, so they're using the same bad information. But if you look at it and say, I'm still concerned, it's $50,000, I want to know how and why they got there. What you may want to do is hire a real appraiser, and they're not that expensive. Appraisers are pretty inexpensive, and find out, then come back to the board, and if you have a fact, and if he or she tells you and says, you know what, the only thing I can find is, and you may be pointing to the recall and saying that, or the condition of the entryway, or the enforcement of the rules, or the litigation, or whatever else is going on, or that somebody has 19 rental homes. And we don't want to live in a community of rental homes, and so I'd rather live where it's more owner occupied because I feel safer, or the insurance rates are less. There are a lot of reasons, but it's going to take an expert. Zillow may give you the fact, but not the reason behind it, the analysis. So I wouldn't give up on it because $50,000 is a lot of money. And if it's something, I had a similar loss in my own home, and it was their mistake. They had a math error on the size of my lot. I said, no. Yes, I'm talking about Zillow. And so I contacted Zillow and I said, hey, you tell me that my lot is only this big, but here's my deed and here's the measurements from the property appraiser. I own a lot more square footage than you have down. And they corrected it and my value went up. Just because it was Zillow's mistake. That's why, again, I don't put a lot of faith in Zillow because I found a mistake on my own, let alone the inconsistencies I see with other properties. But you deserve an answer, and it may be anything, but the real answer is what you need, not just what it could be. You want to know the fact, and there's nothing wrong with you contacting an appraiser and telling him, there's several owners who have rentals and there's this recall going on, and you can point and look at all this stuff on Facebook. Is this impacting my property values? Is this hurting me? And I don't know if anybody owns any stock. I think the market went up today, went down yesterday. Yesterday I lost money, today I gained money. No, I didn't. Not until I sell the property, until I sell the stock. So you haven't lost your $50,000 yet, but you don't want to either. You hope to sell the property one day or pass it on in inheritance. You want it to have a value. So you want it to be what it should be, not what somebody else has made it negatively because of something beyond your control. So I would get that and maybe share the cost with a couple of people. Again, it's not really expensive, but get a sample. Did we have somebody? Hi, you again. I forgot you. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Shoot me.
Last year,
Yes.
at our annual meeting, 2025, we didn't have an election.
Right.
Okay, because we didn't have anybody else running. Okay. So we needed to fill 2 seats. And I was told that you said that they could give them 3 years. So I requested in writing,
Yes.
the letter from you stating that they can give them 3 years. I was told it's in an email, so they can't give it to me. It's, confidential.
You can get it anyway. So whether it was email or letter, because it's attorney-client confidential and all that kind of good stuff.
Okay, but I just.
I'm not
know.
your attorney. I'm the corporate attorney, not yours. You were doing so well tonight. My God. You're gonna buy me barbecue after this, aren't you?
So my
Yeah.
question is,
What?
would you say that? You can give them 3 years or?
I'd have to look at that. I
bylaws,
think Richard had asked the same question
But I'm reading
earlier.
the bylaws, and it says that you can appoint somebody until the next election. So why would you give them 3 years? Why wouldn't you just give them a year to the next election? Or the bank, if it's 6 months up to the year, why are you giving them 3 years? See, that's
Because
what
we
I'm
put our
not-
resumes in, me and Val put our resumes in, that we were gonna be the ones that run for election.
But you didn't
more.
run, you didn't
But
run.
nobody else run.
Excuse me, you didn't run.
That's
There was
right.
nobody
we didn't
running,
run.
so they, 2 people stepped down.
But
So
if
then,
one person would have voted, would have had one vote.
I'm asking him, I'm not asking you, Jerry.
Of course you're not, because you don't like what I have to say.
No, I don't like what you have to say, Jerry, I'm sorry.
Well, let me go back to the whole
What I'm,
terms.
right, okay.
Brookridge has been a mess. We went through that.
Yes,
And
yes.
I traced it all the way back to when Ray was here.
Oh, okay.
It's that far back. And I'm not pointing at Ray.
No,
I'm saying how long ago it was.
yes,
And it was in place then wrong.
right.
And so it's been done wrong that
But
many
this
years.
is not
Now,
this
for
board,
this
but
one,
there's other boards prior that knew that there was a problem with money, 22, 23, okay?
now you're mixing money and vote.
Well, I'm saying
Are they
something
really
else, I'm
related?
saying something else now, I'm talking
Okay.
about with the, what do you call it, with the,
The audit?
investigation.
Yes.
Okay. But for the board to act like this and turn around and say, well, this one they took chlorine out, they did this, you shouldn't have said anything like that, because you made us all look guilty today, the people that you fired. And I live here as well. How do you think I feel? People are looking at me like I'm a thief, like I'm gonna give some, you said it, Jane. They give them chlorine to their friends that have flus. Little things like that, you guys have to learn.
You were doing.
Okay, hang
You
on.
said,
Let's not,
who else
let's
would
not,
do it? But
break
you
it.
fired me, so who else would
Okay.
do it? What do people think?
okay,
That's what I'm
This is-
trying to say.
this is exactly
You have to learn how
why,
to keep your mouth shut on certain points.
all right, this is exactly
That's what
why
I'm
we
saying.
should, that's exactly why we should have the audit, so we can clear your name or whoever
But
else.
that's not the, yes,
Okay.
okay.
So you're mixing the two together. You asked about the term
That's
limit
what I'm
thing.
trying to say. That's the reason why we're doing the recalls, because of all the mistakes and
Okay.
transparency. That's what I'm
And-
trying to say.
Okay. I'm glad somebody finally said why we're doing the recall,
Yes,
because of the mistakes and transparency.
They're human,
Now-
they're volunteers, I get
Thank
it,
you.
but there's
And-
too many mistakes and too many lies.
Okay.
That's the problem.
Can you show me 1 year in the last 15 at Brookridge where there were no mistakes, including the years you were an employee?
There's
Can you show me 1 year? Just
we all
one?
make- we all make
1 year?
mistakes, but own up to it.
Okay, own up to it. Here's confession.
Own up
Please.
to it.
Tell us about your mistakes.
My mistake?
Yes.
Working here. Living here.
Okay, that's just it. She's not going to admit a mistake that she did while working here, and I don't blame you, okay?
No,
All right, but the fact is that removing them is not going to give you a mistake-free board ever,
I
okay?
understand that, but when you have people that lie here and constantly lie, and then you always have to go to the office, so nobody else hears the answer to our question, when we're up here asking a question. That's the problem too, there's no transparency, and that's what everybody's complaining about.
Okay,
You guys work hard, I get it. But you know,
what's the insurance premium for Brookridge?
The insurance premium, that went up like, oh.
No, what's the amount?
How much is it now?
Right. What is, no, I'm asking her,
It's 90-something thousand. Or they
Nin-
got it down to 70-something thousand.
which is it? What is it?
I don't know.
See, and that's the problem, and I'm not, again, I don't mean to pick
I
on you,
don't
embarrass
I
you.
don't remember, because we did discuss this, you had a problem with the insurance.
So-
And they had 45 days notice, and
Okay, hang on, just
and they lied to us about that,
cool it,
so.
cool it for a second. Let me make a point. The insurance premium, everybody who works in the office has access to it and can give you the exact number. But if you came up to the window and said, how much is the insurance premium? They may say, oh, it's about 70 or 90.
Of course, I understand, they don't have everything here with them, all the paperwork, I get it.
Right.
But,
And so if somebody said it was 70 and it was really 90, you tell
no,
me
we
that they're
discussed it
lying.
at meetings, I just don't remember the exact amount right now, but it was
Okay,
outrageous. Because
so you're going to recall the volunteers who are volunteering so that you can replace them with other volunteers who are not perfect and who make
we want
mistakes.
people that know what they're doing, they're just,
Well, if we judge the people who are doing the recall, and again, I don't mean to be unkind, they don't know what they're doing.
okay.
So clearly, you should, okay?
This is what you deal with, okay?
Well,
See, this is what you deal with.
but they
It's
see.
like, I don't clap when you agree with them. I don't clap. But that's what aggravates people. I have a right to speak,
You do,
okay? And I have a right to be respected.
you do.
That's all I'm saying, okay? I don't need to have them clapping their hands like, oh, you know,
But,
no.
but when you're saying something that they disagree with, do you want all of them to stand up here one at a time
No, they
and
should just let
say?
me talk.
Okay, they did. You've been talking.
Okay, never mind, I had enough, never mind.
Okay. Anybody else? Questions, comments?
I got one more question.
One last. Jerry, I can go one more. We can not come back to you.
Okay.
Lady in the back.
I currently have my home for sale in here, and I've talked to 3 realtors already, and they have told me that houses are selling, property values are going down because of this. Of flooding. You make a comment, I love your line. You make a comment about she's trying to talk to you there. That's not necessarily.
Yeah, the lady's comment was she has her home for sale and the realtors are telling her that this kind of stuff is impacting.
They told me the lockdown on spectrum only. People aren't happy with that. They want that Ethernet or whatever it's called. People, the realtors have told me that, lots of monies that have just gone missing and there's no accountability. And then they told me that this invoice that is going on every meeting I come to, everybody's just rude. Like her, she wants to stand up and talk, let her talk.
Thank you.
Don't sit over here and make side comments and.
That's what I'm saying, exactly, it's disrespectful. You may not like what I say, but it's okay to disagree, but respect one another. That's all I'm saying.
It just, I don't know, I just find it very childish and rude, you know?
Yeah. Did they comment about people talking over each other?
I'm sorry.
Did they comment about people talking over each other? Because there was somebody talking over you when you were talking.
Yeah, they do, people, I've heard it.
Yeah. Could
Well,
you?
I'll tell you what, I was
Yes.
sitting over there at one meeting, and there was a young man over here, I don't know, somebody said he was in his thirties.
Uh-huh.
He shouldn't live here. Why did he live here? He's, you know, and I don't know if he inherited the house, I don't know if he was a renter or whatever. And people up here, I love here, including here, they were sitting there yelling, shut up, sit down, you don't know what you're talking about. And it was about the insurance.
And the F words flying out of people's mouths over there too, which is disgrace, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we got that. Jerry, you've been patient.
Yeah, I got one question.
Yes, sir.
People in here that are on bankruptcy, please, can you explain to these people exactly why they have gotten violations? And maybe they filed bankruptcy and they got the stay, how are we supposed to handle those problems? Like, tell these people how we handle those problems.
I'm not sure what the question is. If you
Bye.
violations.
Violations keep mounting, but they're in bankruptcy.
Okay, somebody who's in bankruptcy and violations.
Yeah.
Right.
The question there becomes, how much does Brookridge want to pay to go into bankruptcy court? There is what they call, believe it or not, it's called a comfort order. You go in front of the judge and say, and I've done it. You go into, I represent Brookridge. Debtor Smith is in a Chapter 7, but we have 3 violations. Here's some pictures of their home, judge, here, give them to the trustee. We would like to enforce our deed restrictions because that's the way it is today. It's impacting her, it's impacting her sales. Judge, can we do that? Judge says, go forth and do that. The only thing we can't do is pass on the attorney's fees and costs incurred against them, and I can't fine them. But I can get an injunction, which would be a court order that says comply with the rules. So if it means fix up the home, remove the junk or whatever the heck it is that's the violation, we can do that and take them to court, and there's nothing they can do. But it's a mother may I situation with bankruptcy court. If you ask first and get the judge permission, that way if I went after them, and even if I'm not going after the attorney fees, I'm not fining them, but I'm just going for an injunction, they're gonna haul me over to, the judge's chambers over in the bankruptcy court. They're gonna say he's violating the automatic stay. I'm going, no, Judge, I'm only seeking equitable relief. And the judge says, yeah, he's right, okay. Now we've got a contempt citation to deal with in violation. I don't want to give your resident the upper hand against the association. So we go first, we get the comfort order. We don't ever have to go back. So it costs a little less because it's on friendly terms with the judge as opposed to adverse terms where the judge is asking us to account for ourselves. So we do it the other way. And it can be done with that house that's in bankruptcy. The other thing to do, that house probably went into bankruptcy also because there's a mortgage foreclosure. And we asked the lender to lift the stay so that they can foreclose. And then they don't own the home anymore. And then the lender takes it. So, and it may be the situation where the $5,000 or 5 years worth of stuff racks up and you go, wait a minute. So there are ways around bankruptcy. There is a cost with that. And we have to look at that and see, is it worth it? You look at the condition of the property, its impact on the property values, your ability to sell. Every community, the homes that are closer to the entryway, everybody sees those. The homes that are in the back that not as many people see, I might be able to tolerate violations in the back where nobody sees it, as opposed to in the front where everybody sees it. And we have gone to the court and said, Judge, the reason that we're here is that that's the first house you see when you come into Brookridge. And it is a train wreck. Here are the pictures. Here's some other nice pictures of homes in Brookridge. 3 homes over, 4 homes over. They're well maintained. These people take care of them. Look at this thing right near them. We need to do something. The judges usually see what we're talking about and they'll go with us on it. So it can be done. It's just the cost, and we just have to figure out what makes sense. Anybody else? You have a question or comment? You can.
I said, can we be done?
Can we be done? I agree with you. Yay! Was that a motion to adjourn?
All those in favor of motioning to adjourn this? Aye. Thank you, Steve, for coming in.